what this means is the weekly winner, not only do they get a Dr. Squatch, but our last segment of our reaction show is going to be Game of the Week. And so we're going to, Rob gets first draft pick. I'm going to go ahead and give Quentin the points, and he had the tiebreaker. Trey's not here. He's really just a guest member from now on. He's losing his host rights. And so the order we're going to go in for our draft, we can go 1 or 2 rounds, whatever y'all want. If y'all don't want to stay too long, we don't have to. Rob, we're going to start off. Pick number 1 of the Game of the Week segment. What's your Game of the Week?
I tell you, I struggled so much on this one between the LSU FSU game and the Florida Utah game, and I have to give it to Florida Utah because of how the game ended. The game ended on a positive play by Florida, intercepting in the end zone. Last play of the game, and they intercept the go-ahead touchdown, whereas LSU lost it by having a extra point block. So, man, I really struggled between which one of those games. And let me put it this way. I was yelling when Florida intercepted that pass, and when LSU had that extra point block, literally, I was like that for 5 minutes. I could not believe what I saw. So this is the toughest week probably of picking Game of the Week, but I have to give it to the Florida-Utah game. I mean, that was just unbelievable.
Quentin, you're second off the board. Pick your game and tell us why the game you pick is better than Utah-Florida.
Well, I don't know that there is a game better than Utah-Florida. I mean,
just pretend.
I'm stuck between the Pitt West Virginia game and the LSU FSU game. I mean, the LSU FSU game was probably a better game, but man, I just think that Pitt West Virginia game was just super entertaining. They were just going blow for blow in the second half. It's like two heavyweights going, and I mean,
old rivals.
Yeah, the renewal of the rivalry and the pick six. I mean, just like the heartbreak for that kid and for JT Daniels. I mean, I think that game was such an entertaining game for me that I would probably have to take it over the FSU LSU game, just because I personally liked to watch that game more than the LSU FSU.
And that one, just to add to what you were saying, Quentin, that really kicked off the week. I know we had week 0, but the real season started on Thursday night, and man, what a way to kick it off.
Yeah, I know.
Golly.
All right, but before I get into my week 1 pick, I will have to add, in our unofficial week 0 predictions, I got the closest. And so my week 0 draft pick is Nebraska Northwestern, and y'all don't get a draft pick. And now we're just going to move on to the week 1. I'm looking at my draft board right now. I'm taking a wild card. Georgia, Oregon. No, I'm kidding.
A lot of Bulldog fans would agree with you.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it a good game. I don't want to get barked at. So just
that LSU FSU game is still on the board.
It looks enticing, but personally, I don't want to pick a game where a team was sad at the very end, where your heart got ripped out. I don't want a blocked field goal to be the game I pick. And so I'm going to my next spot on the board, which is UNC at App State. And I think that's my game of the week. And I say that because I was screaming in the back of Rob's truck during the torrential rainstorm after the A&M game, or during the delay. Just to touch on that, we were an hour and a half down the road before the game started again. And so we would have missed all these games and gotten home way late. We probably would have missed the end of Ohio State and Notre Dame, which is another game I have on my board. And Quentin took Pitt, West Virginia. And so every single game that I had on my board has been talked about. So I think we're in agreement here. But I'm taking UNC App State. I have never seen a game more exciting in regulation with with 2 2-point conversions missed. I mean, think about the level of defense you have to get one of them.
Yeah.
Just like that's a gutsy. First off, it was a gutsy call to not just kick the extra point. But think about how that if they had made the extra point and then came back and kicked the onside.
Well, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have kicked an onside.
Well, what if they did?
I think they would have kicked away and gone for overtime. I think Mac Brown probably would have just maybe taken a knee and played for overtime. I tell you one thing, I've never been a Mac Brown fan. I mean, I don't have anything really against him, but I want to say after that game, they showed the two coaches go up to each other, and Mac Brown smiled and just basically, I don't know who the coach for App State is, but he was like, wow, y'all played good. That was an incredible end of a game. I mean, I think Mac Brown showed a lot of respect to that App State coach, which I think I've heard. I don't know who it is, but I think he's probably moving up, into a Power 5 team. Soon.
And something I want to add is we don't want to talk about the biggest games of the week. When we talk about game of the week, we want to talk about the game you're screaming at the TV for a team you might not care about at all. And so when I thought about that, really the game that came the most to mind was UNC App State. Just because I think there was so much excitement in that game, and you still got your heart ripped out right at the end if you're an App State fan. But there's just so much that happened.
Yeah.
Like LSU FSU obviously could be one of them, and it was a coin flip for me. But just if I had to pick, I had a little more enjoyment, and my heart went out for them a little. My heart went out for App State a little less than LSU because they had two shots at it. Because you got so many shots. LSU, it was a lower scoring game, and so
it was a miracle they were in that position.
And you missed your one opportunity. But like App State, they did some things that could have lost them the game, and UNC gave it back to them.
Yeah.
And so
I tell you what, we talked about 4 games that we all struggled to decide what the game of the week was, and that I think that just proves how incredibly entertaining this week was.
Do you know how entertaining this week was?
3 more come to mind for me too.
Yeah. Do you know what we haven't talked about?
What?
Penn State at Purdue.
That would have been my next pick because not to be predictable, but I was like, after that West Virginia game, I was like, I cannot believe that just happened. And then I turned the Purdue game on. I was like, I cannot believe that just happened twice.
Yeah, no kidding. And I watched a good chunk of that Penn State Purdue game, and honestly, if I didn't see the final score, I think Purdue
played better.
Won that game. I mean, Purdue outplayed Penn State, and that was another incredible game, But it was literally deja vu. Did we just see this happen again?
Yeah.
And I think it was in real time, like 5 minutes apart, 5 to 10 minutes apart.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about Ohio State Notre Dame. It was a 1-score game with like 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
2 of the biggest brands in the history of the sport. And it's a 1-score game with 5 minutes left, and we haven't talked about it? That's crazy.
Yeah. And the story inside the story with Marcus Freeman being a former Ohio State Buckeye, I mean, my gosh, how do you go into your alma mater that you've given your life to, except the last couple of years, obviously, he's been coaching at Notre Dame, but how do you go into your old stomping grounds and be so, not anti-Ohio State, but root for someone that's not Ohio State on that field?
He literally grew up minutes from the stadium.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just crazy.